And I think the roster changes too, particularly with the first team we're going to talk about, which honestly, this team has now become hard to watch. Which, I mean, I watched every Lakers game pretty much this year, or a good portion of their games. I don't think every single one, of course, but a good percentage of their games before the hiatus. And I felt like, okay, they're in a good spot. And then, of course, with them losing Avery Bradley, it's probably made a bigger impact than we thought. And, of course, Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith kind of still trying to mesh with the team. It's honestly been terrible. And I think, with Toronto, we were like, okay, it's one game. And then I kind of felt the same with OKC, even though the OKC game made me a little queasy because I was like, I don't get what's going on here. And then the Houston game, I was like, this is just ugly. It's not working. Brandon, what are your thoughts on how bad the Lakers have been? Obviously without LeBron in that game against Houston, but even against OKC, they had LeBron and they looked terrible.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem that they have is their starting line, which is what everybody talks about all the time, is pretty good. But if you really break it down, at the end of the day, the only two players on their team who are scoring are LeBron James and
Anthony Davis.
You're not going to win a game where your only two players that are scoring most of the time are LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and your bench is atrocious. As we talked about last night, when you are playing a team that has a deeper bench, once it becomes bench versus bench, it doesn't matter if you have Anthony Davis or LeBron James on your team, because it'll get to a point in the game where one or both of those players are not on the court, and then what happens?
I also, before I go to Shane, I want to point out some of these plus minuses. Now, obviously, plus minus isn't everything, but it did showcase to me just how bad they played. Kyle Kuzma, -9. Anthony Davis, -9. Danny Green, -9. Dion Waiters, -14. Dwight Howard, -11. And their bench yesterday was just bizarre. Like Talen Horton-Tucker, Dion Waiters, Markieff Morris, J.R. Smith. I mean, it was just bizarre to watch. Shane, what were your thoughts on the Lakers' troubles so far in the bubble and that game last night against Houston?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, the injuries at first, they didn't concern me because I thought, okay, well, they still got, kind of their core. But, seeing that this is clearly affecting them. And not only that, but then to hear yesterday that LeBron said that there's some type of organizational problem that he
off the court issue.
Yeah, which that doesn't surprise me, because now I just wonder what it is. But because you don't just. Obviously LeBron is out now, but you don't just go from being as good as you are and still having LeBron and AD and losing this badly. It's just weird. I get that they had, that long time off. Maybe they just came in thinking, oh, we got the first seed. Who cares? We'll just treat it as like a scrimmage game, essentially. But it doesn't feel like that's the case. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I guess we just have to see what happens. It's weird though. They definitely don't look like themselves.
It is weird though. I think Reggie Miller pointed this out last night, or maybe a few games ago or whatever, where it did feel to me early on, at least, that Frank Vogel was like, all right, we got the 1 seed. Let's kind of figure out how this team meshes. But I think you're right, Shane. I think this is a bigger issue. I don't think you could lose by 20 to OKC, lose by 20 to Houston, and think that it's not a bigger issue. It's
Yeah.
just really bizarre.